we're sports moms, we're at every practice, every game, and recruiting visit, but nobody hands us a legal handbook.
As soon as your child turns 18, people are going to reach out and they're going to try to circumvent.
A lot of moms don't even think about the trademark piece. My kid's not Nike. Why do I need a trademark? But their name is their brand. Failing to protect their personal brand early on allow somebody else to potentially own their identity. If your young athlete receives an NIL offer and you don't do these three things first, you risk
Establishing that you all and your family are what we call one band. Number two, establishing a team. And then number three, making sure that
LaShawna Edwards, welcome to Mom Behind the Athlete. I want to jump right into this because there is so much at stake for families right now. Finish this sentence for our moms listening. If your young athlete receives an NIL offer and you don't do these three things first, you risk go.
one, establishing that you all and your family are what we call one band, one sound. Everyone's on the same page about the career path and the people that we're going to work with and our values and our whatever we're working with. Number two, establishing a team, proactively establishing that team. So having people who are in place and filling in the gaps that you do not have as a parent. So that might be legal, financial, whatever that may be, having those people in place before an offer is received. And then number three, making sure that you understand that this is a business. We make decisions from the perspective of we are running a business, period. And if you don't have those things in order, you risk your athlete signing contracts that they shouldn't have signed, working with people, getting locked into situations that you wish you would have on the back end, took the time to proactively prepare to make those strategic decisions. And that could look like loss of money, loss of opportunity, loss of their actual ownership over their name, image, and likeness. And so we really want to make sure that we are all on one accord, that this is one band, one sound. We're all part of this team. We have people that are solid, that we trust to help us make wise decisions. And then we are moving forward with this is a business. We are not operating from emotion.
Amen to that. Mom, she just dropped the whole game on you, right there in 60 seconds. Now, I need our moms to know who exactly just dropped that on them. Tell us about yourself, your background, and who Black Sports Moms is all about, because I'm sure you didn't just wake up one day and start fighting for athletes. There's got to be a story behind it.
Yeah, listen, I am previously a civil rights attorney as well, too. But let me tell you, listen, I'm a justice fighter since I was a little girl.
All right.
But yeah, so I'm Chana Edwards. I'm an attorney. I am also a sports mom myself. My son is in middle school, but I have a variety of terms of my legal background. I've done civil rights law, education law, business, and intellectual property. And I have for many, many, many years always felt that it was an injustice that athletes were not able to monetize from their name, image, and likeness. And I would hear the stories well before I was even a lawyer about how the athletes' families couldn't travel or couldn't afford to go to their child's games, or, they were getting in trouble for signing autographs. I'm from Ohio, so the Ohio State Tattoo Gate story was very big in our household, and big feelings around telling someone, you can't even sign your name. The name that boy's mama gave him, you're telling me you own that, and these institutions were making millions and billions. So I've always felt that it was an injustice. And so around 2021, when NIL became law, I had kind of collectively pulled all of my experiences together and said, listen, I got to help my people. Like, this is the playing field is even. Let's make sure that our families understand and are engaging from a knowledge, standpoint, not being taken advantage of, because that's kind of how it's always been within the industry. And as a mom myself, I literally vividly remember this story. I was on the phone with my own mom, and I said, Mom, I think I'm being called to work with momagers. I said, I think that's what God wants me to do. I couldn't tell you, there was no actual dream to work in sports. It just was God aligning everything. And when I fully owned that, that's when we kind of started Black Sports Moms. I met my co-founder, Andrea, who's the mother of a professional baseball player. And we just kind of just both have these like big backgrounds and hearts around helping women, and especially Black women, really step into our roles as leaders within this space, because truly behind the scenes, many of us have been doing the work or have been wanting to have an opportunity to help their child do the work for a long time. And so now we're saying, oh no, baby, come and get this education and let these people know when you walk in the room, you know what you're talking about.
Absolutely. So important. So here's what got me. I was scrolling Instagram, like we all do, and I came across a post that you made about a young soccer player, and it stopped me dead in my tracks because what happened to, I think it was a soccer player, because what happened to this kid is exactly what none of us think could happen to our children. Walk us through the story. It was like a young soccer player, an NIL deal, and I think unknowingly signed away a portion of their future earnings. What happened?
Oh, I think the baseball, but the funny,
Baseball. Okay.
not funny actually, but it happened in baseball and football. So there's a baseball player. He's in the profession. He plays for the majors. He's at, I think, San Diego Padres now. He's actually international. He's from, I think, the Dominican Republic. But the similar story happened to a young man at the University of Florida. So I'm going to tell the facts. They were pretty much similar. There's an organization or a company that had agreed to sign or give this athlete money in advance, an advancement fund on their future earnings. And in the baseball player situation, he was given $2 million from the entity. And if he was to go pro, he was to pay them back 10% of his future earnings for 25 years.
How old was he at the time?
18. He was 18. And so similarly in the story with the University of Florida player, I think he was about 20. He got an advancement on his NIL. It was about $436,000, and he too signed an agreement saying that he was going to pay back. I think his was maybe 15%, 10 or 15% of his future NFL earnings pre-tax for 25 years. 25 years in the NFL. So that means that you already said we're going to tap into your retirement, pitch, whatever. And so in both instances, both players went pro. The young man who played baseball, he signed a $340 million deal with the Padres and now has to pay that company back $34 million. And the court, he took it to court. The courts ruled in favor of the entity. They did acknowledge, though, that this should be more like a loan and not treated like some sort of investment where you get a percentage on the back end, but they refused to state that he doesn't have to pay that money back. And then in the young man with the University of Florida, he's still waiting for his day in court, but that case in that one doesn't look good. Now, he's got a few other little nuances around his, but it's happening in the NIL space as well, too. And
so I'm assuming their parents didn't have a lawyer look at any of this stuff.
I have some thoughts about the University of Florida one. I don't know for sure. And even in the one with the baseball player, there were some folks that said, I think his dad may have played pro at one point. So I can't say for sure that there were no legal folks, but that's also, kind of knowing who's in your circle if you do have someone, but also having to knowledge yourself, because at the end of the day, unfortunately, most people, I won't say most, let me take that back. A lot of people that work in this space, they're out for themselves. They want to get money for themselves. And so if the deal makes sense to them, but it may not make sense to your athlete or your child, then they may not talk you out of it. So you have to have some level of knowledge for yourself, you and your child.
Right. The sharks are out there. Essentially mortgage his entire professional career for a few in high school or in college. And that's probably the kind of thing that keeps us up at night as moms, right? Or they probably thought they were doing a good thing. They said yes to an opportunity, and it cost the one gentleman big, and we're not sure if how the other gentleman is going to make out. Hey, sports moms, you want to see your athlete get that college scholarship, but the recruiting process feels like one big confusing mystery. Well, stop scrolling. I got you. That's why I created the Recruiting Roadmap, a completely free app designed specifically for the mom behind the athlete. It walks you through exactly what to do from 9th grade all the way through 12th. There's a college offer tracker section, a place to upload your highlight videos, and a full library of coach email templates already written for you. I originally built this for football, but the tools work for almost any major sport. This app is going to help you get organized and help your athlete get seen by coaches and put them in the best position for that scholarship. And it's completely free. Just drop the word recruit in the comments right now, and I'll send the link straight to your DMs. Let's get your baby to college, your mama. How common is this, would you say? And are the clauses intentionally buried, or are families just not knowing what to look for?
So I will say in the one with the football player, that contract I think was like 35 pages because I remember I always was teaching on it when I was on my NIL course. So that's a lengthy document. And not that I will say that it was necessarily buried, but that's even for me as an attorney, a 35-page contract is a long contract. And so I could see there being a lot of legalese and things in there that just was making this feel like, okay, this is maybe over my head, or maybe think there's a variety of ways that people think about contracts. I feel like it's pretty clear as day when they're saying, this is what you're going to get and this is what we're going to be paid back. But if you don't understand or you do feel like maybe something's missing or I don't know, you should have a list of questions that you're even considering when you're entering into these contracts. And if you don't have the answers to those, then you shouldn't be signing those contracts.
Right. What's the, I guess, the youngest age that you're seeing these companies starting to approach athletes, and why so young?
Yes, honestly, it's getting younger and younger. And there was actually a story I had come across a few years ago, maybe like 2 years ago, where it was targeting youth baseball players. And their parents were kind of unknowingly signing contracts over rights of use of the NIL just to participate in a tournament. And there was I think it was the Athletic or one of the newspaper or media companies had flagged it because they said, wait a minute, I don't think parents know that's what you're signing to just participate in a tournament. And the more that NIL continues to expand, the younger that families are being targeted. I would say most families are being first approached around high school. And to go back what you said, yes, there are entities beyond that one with the baseball player that are uh, encouraging or enticing these families with this advancement fund. And I tell people, be careful. It's kind of like a payday loan. It's like you get caught up in this circle. And I do know of an athlete who was on the other end of it outside of these two, had a private conversation with their family where he was trying to break out of the relationship because he was tied up, still owing them years later beyond the money that he had received from them.
Right, right. Okay, so now we know who's coming for our kids. Let's talk about how to spot them before they get to your door, because the red flags were there. We just, as we explained, don't always know what we're looking for. What are the biggest red flags a parent should watch for when someone approaches their child with an opportunity?
So, number one, you definitely have to use your discernment, your motherly discernment. You can kind of have that gut feel like something's not right. And if you feel like something's not right, even if you guys don't immediately as a family feel like cross this person off, at least start going through a checklist of questions to kind of give you the additional information you need to make an informed decision. Number one, definitely should be looking for in these contracts. What does the termination clause say? Is there an opportunity to exit out of this relationship? And if it's not, then we need to include that because if something comes down the line and we decide this relationship no longer works for us, we need to be able to exit out of it. And that even includes these revenue share agreements. Make sure you understand what a termination of the contract may potentially bring, because that's where some of those liquidated damages clauses where the athletes are having to pay back money, and the schools are beginning to sue some of these athletes if they have those clauses in there. And here's the thing, when your athlete is really sought after, they will adjust those terms. So being aware of like, if we agree to enter into this relationship, what could happen if we need to terminate? So understanding all the pros and cons of that. Also, kind of identifying who they've already worked with. Are those people still with them? So yes, you may have had, an opportunity to work with X player. Is that player still on your roster? And if not, why not? Do you have current clients that are willing to speak with us to kind of give us, some confidence that you're a good person? Looking at that percentage, if we're talking about like representation, what's the percentage that they are trying to take for their commission? Making
What's the
sure that
average percentage that they?
so now it's about 3 to 5. There's been some in earlier days they were taking 20. I've seen 10. I've seen some agencies that are like, listen, we are realize the potential in your child. In this particular case, it was a son, it was football. And so we don't even really want to take anything right now. We put down 1%, but we're looking forward to representing you at the professional level. So keep your, collegiate checks. We don't want any of that. So it kind of varies, but I would say stick within that 3 to 5%. And if you see anything above that, that could be a red flag that this person is maybe trying to take advantage. It could also be just an opportunity to negotiate down and say, hey, we don't want to work, for 10 or 15, 20. We want to be in the 3 to 5% range and see how they respond.
Okay. Moms, y'all need to write this down because those are things they're hoping you're either too busy to see or it's too excited because your child got an offer of some money
Yes.
to notice. So let's go to, I want to back up for half a step. For some of these moms that listening, because, I'm talking about it because my 3 sons have been through the process, right? So NIL rings true to me, and it kind of started or came to fruition while they were still in college.
Uh-huh.
In simple terms, what is NIL for our moms?
Yeah, glad you said that. So I get that question. Many moms are always like, how do we get started? What do we do? And I'm like, okay, it's not necessarily a doing when we're referring to NIL. NIL refers to the commercialization, meaning the ability to make money off of your name, image, and likeness. And although NIL is connected to athletics and collegiate athletics now, it is not a term or a process that's exclusive to athletes. It's something that we all have the right to do. So we all have the right to control the commercialization, the marketing, sponsorships, the ability to create a business off of the name, image, and likeness of that child. And so the way that it works now is that the institutions, because they have for so long not been sharing the money they were earning by marketing off of those athletes' name, image, and likeness, are now doing what's called revenue share. So they're sharing a percentage of the money that the institutions are earning with the athletes. So that's where you hear a lot of these big contracts are coming from, the institutions signing to agree to pay the athlete to utilize their name, image, and likeness. And then you also have a plethora of other opportunities where the athlete can just simply start a podcast, do their own business, sponsor other third-party products and services from their fame, their name, image, and likeness. And the reason why that probably sounds like silly, like that's, simple, they couldn't do that prior to 2021. They couldn't start a grass cutting business based off of their fame that they couldn't, sign autographs. They couldn't do any of that prior to 2021. So now it's just basically saying, hey, you're famous. You people maybe are influenced by you. Let's make money off of it, essentially.
Okay. All right. So little explanation for folks, but all right, moving forward. A family gets a contract. And let's be honest, usually contract comes in a PDF form in the middle of the night. What are the top 3 words or phrases they should scan for immediately? And what are the immediate, like, do not sign red flags?
So I will say it can depend on what type of contract. So let's say it's maybe the contract with the university or the a third party collective or booster club. We're looking for phrases like perpetuity, which means that they have a right to own whatever your child creates forever. And there's very few contracts that are written out monetarily that are worth giving someone access to use something forever. And so being aware that if you are signing that, that's what you're agreeing to, things can come back around. As I said earlier, we're kind of looking at that termination clause. What are the potential pros and cons of exiting this contract? In the NIL rev share space, not all universities, but some of the universities, as I said earlier, have what's called liquidated damages. So if you were to transfer, that terminates the contract, which then could mean that they have to pay back money, and that institution can determine what that looks like. And then lastly, I would say be aware of morality clauses, which can be very nuanced depending on the university. They could be as small as you showing up late for practice can cost a payment. It could be as large as getting arrested. I've even had some where it was saying things like speeding, like it just said speeding. And I'm like, well, wait a minute, because you can get a speeding ticket for going 7 miles over. What about we put a number to that and say it's at least 30 miles or something? You shouldn't lose a payment for a basic, speeding ticket. So kind of being aware of what's in that morality clause. There's even some that'll say something like things that may offend the local population. What does that mean?
Right.
Offend and
Right.
that's too vague. And where are we talking about? The rural South might be offended by something that the North is not. So we need to. I try to remove things like that because that's so subjective and could cost an athlete a payment, a money. Sometimes it could terminate the contract altogether, depending on what happens. And it may be something silly or not something that was illegal or anything like that. So just kind of being aware and central that they're watching how your athlete is carrying themselves and making sure they're not potentially, ruining a contract or having a payment not be received as a result.
Right. Well, this is where I want to bring in something that probably a lot of moms don't even think about, the trademark piece. Because people feel like, oh, my kid's not Nike. Why do I need a trademark? But their name is their brand. And I've always told my sons that they didn't know what I was talking about in high school. But I'm like, listen, what you do, your name is your brand. So, how does failing to protect their personal brand early on allow somebody else to uh, potentially own their identity?
I'm so glad you asked that because if I had to go back and change my answer, I probably would say ownership. Making sure you understand who owns whatever is in that contract. Because as you said, I actually use the phrase the athlete is the brand and the brand is the business. And so they are a walking, talking business. So everything attached to them, they need to try to make sure that they own. So that's their name, like you said. So with a trademark, that's owning their name. Do they have a logo? A lot of the athletes are they're so influential that it could be a slogan that them and their friends start saying as part of, their game day routine that becomes popular. And now you have an opportunity to monetize that. I actually, when I would teach my course, I would tell the story. It's not an athlete, but it's an influencer, which is what they are. They're athletic influencers. They're influencing the masses. That's how people want to spend money with them. She used the phrase, the girls that get it, get it. And a lot of people use that online. Well, there was a drink company that took it and put it on a mural on the side of a building. Well, she was wise. She had trademarked it already. And so when she saw that, they had two choices. Either they were going to remove it, pay to remove it, or they could pay her to use their phrase. And I don't think I need to do a follow up to see what it ultimately came to be. But I want to say that she got paid to allow them to use that mural. So it's also a revenue stream in terms of them being able to utilize or license it out to people to be able to use their name, a slogan, a logo. But also, if you don't do that on the front end, or you're aware that you need to protect it on the front end, you can sometimes, unfortunately, sign it away to corporations or things and lose the rights. And now you're limited in terms of what you can do with your own name or your own slogan or your own logo. And that has
Right.
happened to several athletes.
Yeah, that's a good point. But again, I told my kids that young, they used to use a mantra, "Ville mentality," when they were in high school. And then all the kids started saying it. And it comes from, I mean, I'm sure you could explain it further. We won't get into it like music copyright and all that stuff. But J. Cole has a song called Ville Mentality. But my son started using it. And once I saw it starting to catch on, I'm like, again, my background isn't in any of this. I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a trademark attorney, but just mom instinct. Mom instinct is more stronger than a whole lot of stuff. Said, you know what? Let's look at trademarking this. And we did, and it served us well. And we have a clothing brand by the same name, Bill Mentality. So,
Oh, I love
you know,
it. Great
you
job.
got to
Great
look
job.
for it, because this is, my goal is to build a legacy for
Yes.
my family, not just my
Yeah.
sons, but whoever comes
Mhm.
behind me. So
Mhm.
anyway, that was the start of that. So let's pivot for a second. The landscape is shifting fast in the collegiate NCAA world. It feels like every time we blink, there's a new rule, a new lawsuit, a new headline about college athletics, and families are just trying to keep up while raising their kids. With all the recent changes in college athletics, how has the NIL landscape shifted, and are the new rules actually protecting athletes, or are they creating more confusion?
Oh gosh, it's creating more confusion. Quite frankly, it's creating more confusion. And especially because with each new rule or each new established process, there comes a lawsuit to follow. And so sometimes it may put what's called an injunction on the rule and they can't implement it until it goes through the court process. Sometimes it gets shot down and then they can continue. Honestly, it as you said, literally almost every day or maybe realistically every 1 to 2 weeks, there's a change in how NIL is operating. And it's kinda I just did a post the other day. I was like, it's almost impossible to keep up with. Even as a practitioner in the space, I'm constantly trying to make sure that I'm aware because of what happened is when the NCAA lost their lawsuit, which allowed the NIL to take place, to become in the first place, they didn't prepare because they didn't think they were going to lose. And so everything has been being built in real time as opposed to having something put together on the front end. So where we are today is not even really what NIL was expected to be when it was first allowed. The booster clubs coming in and having that money to dish out to entice athletes to come play at their school was not something that was anticipated. And because of that, now because of the big numbers that are coming with it, because now athletes have more autonomy and rights, you have these groups, congressmen, folks lobbying to try to prevent the athletes from being able to exercise those rights because that was never what they really thought this was going to be. When in reality, they're the ones that created it in the first place. It was the collectives and boosters starting to write those checks. When the athletes first got the rights, it was just simply saying, hey, we can't stop you from starting a business anymore. We can't stop you from doing a deal with Gatorade. You can do all of that if you want to. And then when those parties came and put their, to put their spin on it, found their loopholes, that's when it started really getting complicated. And so now they're kind of create rules to draw some of that back in. So that's where we have like your NIL Go. The College Sports Commission is their new investigatory body that's trying to analyze the different contracts and see if is this really a pay for play type of deal, or is it really promoting this drink brand or whatever the case may be. And so they're trying to establish it in real time. And I honestly don't know when it'll be settled because it's such a fluid space and things keep changing and people keep finding ways for their team to win, you know?
Right. Okay. And but that's the thing. We're we're sports moms, we're at every practice, every game, and recruiting visit, but nobody hands us a legal handbook, so we, don't have any clue what's really going on. If a mom listening right now feels completely overwhelmed by the legal side, what is the one non-negotiable rule she needs to adopt today to become her child's first line of defense?
Mm. I'm gonna go back to what I said from the beginning is establishing in your family that you all are one band, one sound. And I know that sounds silly, and some people may feel like they already have that with their child, but I want you to have intentional conversations because as soon as your child turns 18, or even before then, people are going to reach out and they're going to try to circumvent you. They're going to try to go around you. And especially when they turn 18, they know they do not have to include you anymore. And the reality is these are young, impressionable athletes and kids. They are happy to be chosen. Their biggest dream is to play their sport at a high level. And so they're tapping into those emotions. And so it's easy for them to fill in and, oh, we can trust them and they do this. And I mean that for anybody that's been in the circle. They did this for us. They've looked out for this for us. And it's easy to get these athletes. That's how, for example, with the baseball player, it sounded great. I'm gonna get this money to be able to go and train and do all these things. And there needs to be someone with a higher level of wisdom. And you as mom do not have to be an attorney to say, let me pause. You don't sign anything. Let's come back together. Now, if we have that team established, then hey, maybe we have somebody legal. Or if nothing else, let's pause. We're not signing anything under duress, meaning, hey, they need us to sign this in 24 hours. No, we need to go back to our team. We need to come together. Are there any issues with this contract? Do we need to pause to look for any clues around termination or all of that? And then we move forward. So don't
Right.
let anybody rush you through this process.
Slow your road.
Slow your roll.
Yes, I have 3 sons who have gone through this process, and listen, I can only wish that I had this information then, and I'm sure, this is the stuff that moms need at the kitchen table and not in the courtroom. So, I love what I love about this conversation is that you make this feel possible, right? This is a big subject and, it can feel a little overwhelming. the landscape is complicated, but you make it seem like it's not impossible for moms if you have the right people in your corner, right?
Mhm.
And that brings me to something I always want to make sure of before we leave any episode. I don't want a single mom listening to feel stuck. So,
Mhm.
for the mom who's listening right now and realizes her athlete may have already signed something she didn't fully understand, he or she didn't fully understand, what's the very first thing you should do? And where can she find you?
Yeah, so she can find me on any platform. I'm Lachana at Lachana Edwards. I'll give you my email as well to be able to include, as well as within our Black Sports Moms community. The reality, depending on what she signed or what your child signed, it unfortunately may or may not be able to pivot in a way that doesn't cause harm, because unfortunately for some contracts you may not be able to get out of them unless you go a legal route and you're trying to challenge it in the courts or something like that. So I would say the biggest thing I would want her to do, if we are in a position where they've already signed something, if you feel like, hey, we still want to know and we had maybe nothing's negative happened, get in contact with an attorney and say, hey, we've already signed this, but can you let us know if there's something in here that we maybe should not have? Sometimes you can go back to those parties. Depending on who they are and say, hey, we talked with our legal team and we want to see if we can make some adjustments. And they may be willing to make an amendment to that contract. Don't panic though and feel like this is all a lost cause. Having somebody on your team, like myself or even within our Black Sports Moms community, to be able to give you some feedback on maybe what you can do in that situation. And if nothing else, once you get out of that contract, then hey, we know what to look out for. Unfortunately, it's getting better now that the word is out. Now I'm trying to educate. Now we're reaching more women through our Black Sports Moms community. But a lot of people unfortunately do realize what they should have done on the back end. And that's what my goal as a sports attorney, as co-founder of Black Sports Moms, is to help more of our families proactively engage in this industry, because we are the engine. Our kids are the engine that keeps this whole industry moving. And it's been an unfortunate reality that for so long we haven't been made aware of how to engage in the business side of it. So my goal is to break it down as digestible as possible and do help you realize that you can engage. They have intentionally made it sound like it's as complex as it is to keep you out of it. That's the fact. It can't. We have new people that engage in the industry every year. There's newer young folks that come in and learn how to do it every year. Why would you not be able to do that as well too? And the only reason why historically it's been because they don't want you to be able to call out and hold people accountable, or for your child to know, their value and be able to say, we're not signing that, or we're not going to be taken advantage of, because that's how they've been able to engage in it for so long.
Shauna has, as you heard, her organization, Black Sports Moms. So, first, how can listeners reach Black Sports Moms? Do you guys have any events coming up? And tell us where we can get in touch, where moms can join in with your group.
Yeah, so Black Sports Moms on all platforms. That's sports with an S and moms with an S. We also have our virtual community as well too, which is a private membership where mothers are getting education monthly. We have niche topics as well as a live Q&A with me every single month as an attorney. So they come on and ask questions. And then we bring on a mental health expert as well to what ways can we help our athletes from the mental health perspective. So we have that virtual arm, but we also have local chapters where they can engage, and we're continuing to expand. We should be in 20 cities by the end of the year. Right now we're in
Woo!
6 chapters, 6 cities,
Come
Atlanta.
to Philly. Are you in
And
Philly?
we're not in Philly yet.
Come on.
I need to go through our list because we do have. So we're in Houston, Atlanta, Kansas City, DC, Tampa, and I'm missing one, Jersey, Newark,
Okay.
Jersey. But we have a list of mothers who are saying, I'm ready to take on a chapter lead role in my city. And I can't confirm if Philly is on that list or not. It might be, but I know we have a large list of mothers across the country that are saying, hey, I want to take on the leadership role. And we are just asking them to bring the women together socially and for educational opportunities. Our financial partner, Prudential Financial, is partnering us with financial advisors to do some ongoing education as well. And so we're really trying to bring our mothers in a true leadership role as well as to engage in the community. And then this July 17th and 18th, depending on when this airs, a before or after, we have our national conference where mothers spend the main conference days, the 18th on that Saturday. It's a full day of, as we call, professional development for momagers. So we're covering contracts, branding. We have our, as I said, financial partner that comes in and does some education. We have several speakers this time. So they'll talk about recruiting. We're going to talk about navigating these Division I football programs. How do we, as our Black families, take advantage of some of these behind the scenes things to help your child accelerate in their professional career, the relationships to have, as well as some investor and estate planning folks coming in to just kind of give us this education. So really and truly learn the business and to operate like a business so we're making wise decisions. So Black Sports Moms continuing to grow across the country. And so if you follow us on any of the platforms, you'll get and see the links to all of the amazing things that we're doing.
Okay, awesome. So again, July 17th and 18th is it virtual or in
In
person?
Houston, Texas. Did I forget to say that? In Houston, July 17th to 18th in Houston. It is not virtual. And even though we get questions, can you get a virtual ticket? Are you guys streaming? We do not, because there are stories that are shared and people who want to be able to share freely their knowledge without any pushback or any drawback from it being around online. So we like to make sure this is
Okay.
a safe community for our families.
Okay. Well, that's exactly why I wanted you on the show, because information is power, right? Sounds corny, but cliche, but it is. Information is power. And our kids' futures are worth protecting. LaShawna Edwards, co-founder of Black Sports Mom, NIL, and trademark attorney. Thank you for showing up for our families today. Make sure you follow her, share her information, and send this episode to every sports mom in your circle, because that's what we do here on Mom Behind the Athlete. We show up, we dig in, and make sure our kids are covered, fully covered, on and off the field. I'm Luann Gathers, Mom Behind the Athlete, just like you. Until next time, protect the bag. Mom Behind the Athlete, out.